Super Mario 64's main speedrun leaderboard consists of these 5 categories spanning from 0 star, where you can beat the game as fast as possible in record speeds of 6 minutes, all the way to 120 star, where you are essentially 100%ing the game, and this takes at best a bit over an hour and a half. But what if I told you that there was an entirely different speedrun leaderboard for SM64, a leaderboard that had over 5 times the amount of categories that the original one did, and consisted of some of the most insane and obscure speedruns that you've ever seen. Today we will be taking a dive into the deep end and look at some of the most ridiculously insane SM64 speedrun world records that you've probably never even seen or heard of. Now imagine how hard it is to speedrun SM64. I mean, you have to learn all of this movement tech, all of these tricks, and for some categories like 1 and 0 star, you have to learn how to do this insanely hard trick called SBLJ, which is a very precise backwards long jump that allows you to shoot through this wall and skip having to collect the required amount of stars needed to enter that section of the castle, while a runner who goes by the name of Bubzia is able to do all of it blindfolded. Now despite Bubzia running all of the main categories like I mentioned earlier, these runs being blindfolded is a part of the category extensions leaderboard, as doing them blindfolded is quite literally a whole nother beast to tackle. Despite there being a decent amount of people who have taken on the blindfolded challenge, no one has done it like Bubzia has. Starting with 16 star, Bubzia holds the world record with a time of 23:17. I mean, just look at how insane the beginning of this run is. Not only does he do a setup against the wall here to do Lakitu skip, but then he effortlessly pulls off bomb clip. Throughout not only this blindfolded run, but through all of Bubzia's runs, we see him make use of very clever setups that allow for him to bypass any obstacles he may face, maybe by rubbing up against a certain wall or using audio cues to determine where he is. Out of all of his speedruns, I found his 120 star run to be the most impressive. This incredible accomplishment by Bubzia was pulled off for the first time ever in May, earlier this year, with a time of 11 hours, 22 minutes, and 43 seconds. This run took Bubzia months upon months of preparation. I mean, just think about how difficult it would be to get all of the 100 coin stars, as the coins can fluctuate positions, or maneuvering your way through hazard-filled stages such as Tick-Tock Clock. This is the one and only completed run of the speedrun that has been done, but Bubzia suspects that he can bring this time down to potentially under 10 hours, which would be amazing to see. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there are 5 main categories, all of which require you to collect a different amount of stars. Well, on the category extensions leaderboard, we got 15 star, 30 star, 31 star, 45 star, 50 star, and even 90 star. Out of all of these, I personally find 31 star to be the most interesting category, as it actually used to be the fastest way of beating the game. That is, of course, before 16, 1, and 0 star were possible. Essentially, you would go upon the game similar to that of a 70 star run, with the exception of doing this BLJ to access Dark World early, but once you unlock the 30 star door, the run kind of just becomes a 16 star run, as you get the star in Dire Docks, beat Bowser in the Fire Sea, do the infamous backwards long jumps to make it to the final stage, and then finally defeating Bowser to end of the run. 31 star being this in between of 16 and 70 star and complete accident is a really neat concept to me, and I'm sure it would function as a really effective practice for speedrunners pursuing 16 and 70 star. Kana holds the world record in this category with a time of 24 minutes and 30 seconds, and I highly implore everyone after this video to check out this world record alongside all of the other runs I'm about to mention. Now here's where the speedruns get much more obscure, as we have speedruns such as 10 times DDD skip, where like the name implies, you do Dire Docks skip here, also known as SBLJ, 10 times. This trick is arguably one of the hardest tricks in the entire game, so having a category where people attempt to do it 10 times in a row is nothing short of absurd. Nobori56 holds the world record here with a time of 6 minutes and 11 seconds, which lies 39 seconds ahead of second place, who is coincidentally Kano, and a 12-minute gap between Nobori and 10th place. There is also a category that requires you to do cannonless 10 times. Now, doing cannonless on its own is not too difficult, even for people who aren't pro speedrunners, as there are very consistent setups for it. However, if you want to get the world record in this category, you're going to have to do cannonless without the setup, which is infinitely more difficult, especially when you're aiming to do it 10 times. Zeus SM64 holds the world record with an impressive time 3 minutes and 42 seconds, and surprisingly a decent chunk of people trail right behind them. Now, if we dig deeper into the leaderboard, you'll not only see different versions to run run SM64 on, but a collection of shorter but very unique speedrun categories. At the beginning of this collection, there are 3 separate categories that all involve collecting coins. Starting with all coins, which is the longest of them all, Alcobark Narco Alco holds the world record with a time of 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 36 seconds. You'll see Alco not only go to every stage to collect every coin, but collect all of the 100 coin stars to save his progress and traverse through the castle. However, he does not go to every stage in order, as he goes to Dark World first, then the basement, then lobby, and of course ends the run upstairs. Then we got all blue coins, where the world record stands at a 31 flat by Dark Dog 47. What's interesting about the blue coins is that they are often in more obscure spots, whether it be the switch on the side of the Cool Mountain, or by beating the shit out of these piranha plants. The routes taken in the speedrun are super unique, and they use the blue coins to their advantage to get some coin stars and ultimately ending the run in bits. And then of course we got all red coin stars, which stands at a 3322 by top 120 star runner Marlene. As the name implies, you collect every red coin star, which means that you will be visiting every single stage. In some cases, like Hazy Mazy Cave, there will be 2 red coin stars that you can collect. In total, there are 26 red coin stars that you can collect, all of which Marlene showcases with very clever movement, and the run ends when you defeat him. Now, we've seen the multitude of speedruns that involve Mario getting that bag, but you know, life isn't always about getting money. Sometimes in life, you just gotta take a step back from that grind and just do some reading. This is why all signs exist, because it's important for Mario to get his reading in and take a step back from collecting so many coins, and occasionally plumbing and saving the princess. Because yes, those are the only 3 fucking things that Mario does. All jokes aside, Failman Flo holds the all signs world record with a time of 25 minutes and 22 seconds, and despite this category starting off as a meme, it's actually surprisingly optimized. Now, all signs doesn't just include the signs that you may see in the actual stages themselves, but also all of the signs that you can read throughout the castle, which makes for a very interesting route as the run actually ends in Snowman's Land. I should also mention that you do have to click through all of the text or dialogue, but imagine how goofy it would be if you had to actually read what each sign said out loud. It would be the perfect category for, well, throwing all of your sanity away, and I'd love to see that. Moving on, we got all Goombas, which stands at a time of 22 minutes and 40 seconds by Cadmatix, and all Cannons, which stands at a time of 22 minutes and 59 seconds by Marlene. All Goombas is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you kill all of the Goombas, including these big Goombas that are in Tiny Huge Island, and then in all Cannons, not only do you have to activate the 11 cannons across the entire game, but finish the run off by beating Bowser. And finally, we got all exclamation mark boxes, which stands at a time of 37 minutes and 1 second by Marlene, and then all warps, which stands at a time of 17 minutes and 51 seconds by Marlene, again. Now, if you've played SM64, you've definitely encountered locations such as this one in Bomb Battlefield, where you can stand in a certain spot and it'll warp you to another spot. Well, Marlene goes to each and every warp in SM64, and I think it's quite humorous, perhaps even perplexing, that you can just immediately kill Mario after warping, but it does make sense when you think about it. And then, of course, we got all exclamation mark boxes, which actually surprised me quite a bit, because I did not realize how many fucking boxes just have an exclamation mark on them. I mean, in TTC alone, he gets like 10 billion of them in the span of just a minute. Or how about in Snowman's Land, where you go into this room and then all of a sudden you're in Box Land. Overall, these world records from Marlene are very impressive, and I highly recommend checking the runs out for yourself. SM64's category extensions leaderboard is what I like to consider the hidden gem of this game, as there are just so many unique, fun, and really stupid but somehow still entertaining speedruns. However, there's one speedrun that I didn't mention. One speedrun that's not even on the leaderboard I mentioned. One speedrun that is perhaps the most badass of them all. A runner by the name of CZR has a 16 star time of 19 minutes and 48 seconds, but the catch here is that he pulled this off on a fucking drum set. That's right, every input that you see him do is pulled off on a drum set, and he even goes for tricks like Bomb Clip and nails them with ease. He has also done 70 and 120 star on the drums, as well as Breath of the Wild, Pokemon, Mario Bros, Ocarina of Time, and more. If this isn't peak gaming, then I don't know what is.